It's time for the Trauma Team review for the Wii. Now before I say anything, I just want to warn those of you with weak stomachs, you might want to have a bucket next to you for this review. Now, this game isn't too realistic looking with its anime art style, however there may be parts in this review that might make some queasy. Alright, on to the review. The objective in this game is to save people's lives by becoming one at a time one of 6 different medical positions, which include surgery, orthopedics, first response, endoscopy, diagnostics, and forensics. You will play each position with a specific character. Each character has their own story, which is played out in chapters, so to speak, or basically the next level. Now, not to be picky or anything, but dang, most of the characters can't take a dang compliment. Virtually every time you complete a level, someone will congratulate your character, and it seemed like they always refuse to take credit. Now, this doesn't affect the gameplay or the score I'm giving it, but I don't know. Modesty is a good attribute, but yeah. Anyway, I'm getting off track. Alright, with surgery, it's pretty obvious. You get to help patients by cutting them, going inside, and trying to fix what's wrong. Usually, the patient has a tumor you had to extract. Now, I'm not going to explain every detail of what you had to do for any of the 6 professions, but you can get a good idea from the footage you're watching. While performing surgery, you have to make sure the patient's vitals are stable, and you can keep them stable by injecting medicine with a syringe into them. If their vitals drop to 0, you lose the level, and you'll have to start over. As you progress through each profession, you will be guided on what to do by your support staff. And don't worry about forgetting on what to do next with a patient. Your character and your support staff won't shut up on telling you what to do next, even in the later levels, even though you probably already know what to do since you did it in the previous levels. Orthopedics deals with helping patients with bone damage. You will get to extract, put back together, and realign bone injuries, as well as drilling and hammering in reinforcements. First Response deals with a character who is an EMT. She is the one who fixes up people before being sent to the hospital. You will put splints on people, perform CPR, remove debris, and do whatever it takes to keep them alive for the ride to the hospital. With endoscopy, you will guide a probe through the patient's body. While doing so, you will extract tumors, treat patients with ulcers, and find and fix any abnormalities while in the esophagus, stomach, intestines, and nether regions of the human anatomy. This was my least favorite profession, as most of the levels were really boring. The last couple were pretty fun, but the majority were mostly dull. Diagnostics was, believe it or not, my favorite profession of the 6. It's funny, because all you did was diagnose patients and use deductive reasoning and logic to figure out what diseases they have. No surgery, no cutting, but that's just it. It was like a big puzzle. You will get clues, or basically symptoms to their diseases by listening to what they have to say, by visual and audible examinations, comparing their test results, and CTs, MRIs, and X-ray scans. You will take all the symptoms you find and link them up with possible diseases based on the descriptions of the diseases. You will eventually link up all the symptoms with the correct disease, which is very satisfying. Forensics deals with finding clues from dead bodies to solve crimes. You will definitely need to have some patience while playing this profession. It took several hours to complete the first level, where all of the other professions take about 10 minutes to half an hour. You will find clues on the victims and their clothes, and also find clues at the crime scene you investigate. You will take these clues in the form of cards and try to combine them to progress through the level. You will have to have good deductive reasoning skills to complete this profession. The graphics are just fine for this type of game. Nothing too realistic, but it still works. I personally think it could have been a bit more detailed. Then again, maybe not. The controls work virtually perfect. You will use the Wiimote nunchuck combo for every profession, and they all worked very well. You will point, twist, and hammer with the Wiimote when needed, and you will use the nunchuck to switch between different medical tools like the scalpel and forceps. There really isn't anything I could find bad with the controls. I guess the only thing I didn't like was when you were suturing a patient. The stitching wouldn't cooperate quite frequently on where I was trying to guide it. It could become very annoying and even frustrating at times. Overall, though, the controls were precise and very well designed. The voice acting was great. It would have been a pain to listen to if the voice acting was crap, but it wasn't. Some parts of the story were pretty funny as well. I'm glad a story was added to this game, and it wasn't just medical operations. It really helped with the atmosphere of the game. Now, a negative point that I have to point out is that the game can become repetitious to the point where it becomes kind of boring. Like, basically, every level for each profession is the same thing. Surgery, you perform surgery on people. Orthopedics, you fix bone problems. Diagnostics, you diagnose people, although I find this one to be very fun. The point is, it's basically the same thing for every level for each profession, but with certain variables changed, like a different disease or different broken bones, stuff like that. Now, the game is fun, but I found myself not really curious or excited enough to keep playing till the end of a profession in one sitting. Another thing was the dialogue while performing operations could get very annoying. I'm trying to work here, people. This is like the 50th cut I'm treating. I know I have to clean the blood pools with gauze before I do anything first. During each level, performing each action will be graded based on how well and precise you perform that action. After you complete a level, you will be graded on how well you did, which is based on how well you performed each action. Trauma Team is a great game. Fun and interesting gameplay for each of the 6 professions, good graphics, precise controls, and a good story make this game enjoyable. However, most of the gameplay can become too repetitious and sometimes even boring, especially with endoscopy, and the dialogue can become very annoying, especially when you've heard it over and over during operations. Overall though, I had a lot of fun with it, and I recommend it to anyone who's looking for something different and unique to play. This game gets a 4 out of 5 with the title of awesome.